I don't watch all the shows. According to what my the system I use to keep track of that thing, I watch about 160 active shows right now. So there's going to be a lot of different things here. One thing I don't want to do though, and or I should say I don't. I'm a salty guy, man. I like salt in everything. So I will say though that I don't want to push too much on the negative here. I don't want to spend our time saying what the worst shows of the year are. I don't want to spend time, just pissing on things that I don't like. Because I mean, there's enough of that in the world. But I will say that I'm going to try to serve, unsalted meat. But there might be a little salt on the side every so often. I mean, but we're not going to spend all our time talking about why Hellstrom was garbage or something. We're gonna go into the more positive things and try to point out all the great things that we saw this year. For instance, well, it wasn't one of the best shows of the year. I wouldn't even call it put it on my list. But I think Warrior Nun was a surprising. It's a Netflix series for those out there who don't know, based on a comic book, sort of, and it was surprisingly good. I wouldn't again call it great. It's got potential though, a lot of potential to go somewhere good, really
Yeah,
good.
it definitely. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Fizza. I too was hesitant when starting Warrior Nun, but you know me, I'll watch or give a chance to anything that's comic book related, and I was
Wow.
pleasantly surprised. I mean, I would not say it's one of my top TV shows ever, but it was really surprisingly just enjoyable and fun, and the amount of world building and like I can't wait to see where this series goes next.
Me too. Me too. The same with the shows like Stargirl. I mean, I don't think that was the greatest show of the year. I wouldn't give that show
See, now that
like.
I disagree. I love, and just to be
I'm
clear,
not saying.
because I know Disney Plus also came out with the series this past year called Stargirl, so it's confusing. We're talking about the DC Comics one on uh, the DC streaming service, and the second season will be on the CW and HBO Max. And for me, I just, I mean, talking about just pure enjoyable fun. I absolutely had a blast watching Stargirl.
Again, I did not say I didn't like it, and I did enjoy it. I had a lot of fun with it. I
Yeah, no,
think it
no,
was a good light series. Like
yeah,
but my level for what I think is the best of the best. That's not going to be on. It's a contender. Maybe eventually, maybe it'll get there. But
okay,
it's got a good start and a lot of fun.
yes.
The same with shows like I don't know if anyone out there watched the new Amazing Stories or the new Creep Show or the new Twilight Zone. All of those shows have some really good potential. There's some really good storytelling, especially in those shows because they're anthology based. There were some really great episodes of all three.
All three of
But
those
again,
are
I would
still on my to check out list, but I haven't done so yet.
but I wouldn't call any of them like the level, even the level of the series they're pretending, they're a return of. Which Twilight Zone, for those out there who care, is my all-time favorite television show. It is the best television show ever made, in my opinion. So you know where I'm starting at. That's my
Mm-hmm.
that's my that's my that's my plus ultra right there.
Okay.
So anyway, so back to what I think is some of the best shows out there. Actually, before that, let's hit a couple more cute shows. All Creatures Great and Small. There was a new BBC version of the book series All Creatures Great and Small about a vet who goes to the country to learn to become a vet, or a vet student who goes to the country to learn to become a vet.
Okay.
Evan, this is not comic book related, I know, but it is nerdy. So
No,
for those out
this
there who
this
want,
this is your show. I mean, I just had never
for
heard of it.
those
So
for those who are interested, it's playing on PBS in America. It's a fun little show. There was a cute show also for kids really that was on I believe Apple Plus called Home After Dark. Oh, sorry, Home Before Dark.
hmm.
Now it was kind of promoted as a young adult series, but I actually feel like it did not know what it wanted to be. Sometimes it was really dark. Sometimes it was just like, what are you doing? It's just this is the little kid.
Was
It was
that like
like,
the Goosebumps looking thing, or what? What was that?
well, no, that's a different show. I know what you're talking about. Oh, what is that show? There was a redo of, it was a show like Goosebumps,
Alone in
something
the
like
Dark, or
Alone in
more of a
the,
different name?
no, Afraid of the Dark, maybe?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yes.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of that new series, and actually, if you're interested in that kind of storytelling, if you got kids and you love Creepshow and want to show them a good version of that, I actually think that was a great show. I'm talking about Home Before Dark. It is kid detectives, dark mysteries, but instead of it being an anthology show like the one you were talking about, it's a continuous through storyline that Apple Plus put this series out about a little girl. It's a mystery. It's just there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to unpack with it. I would say that it's got some potential. Hopefully, the next season of it will iron itself out, and it will. I think it deserves to be a little bit more than for kids. I think a little bit, maybe more adulty, young adults, like the higher age young adults.
Okay.
But it's a decent start. It's a cute show. I also think in that world of like
By the way,
shows with
before we move on, the show that I was thinking of, which is kind of like the horror anthology, but
Mhm.
aimed at kids that just got a reboot, is um, called "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" So
Are You
that's
Afraid
the
of the
name.
Dark? I think that was what I said at one point. But
Probably.
yeah, that was I saw the first episode of that. That was pretty good.
Okay.
Also, just Swamp Thing. It got a release on television the year in 2020
It did.
after its streaming release. And I want to say that for those of you who didn't see it, I think it was not bad.
No, it was really good, and I feel like faithful, especially to the Alan Moore comics, and it's
Yeah,
unfortunate what
I'm
ended up
sad.
happening with that show, but
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
It is unfortunate. I'm kind of sad at what happened there. Okay, so I will say that I am a big kid, so DuckTales is on my list. I love DuckTales. That's a returning series that was out there,
Woohoo!
but did just get canceled after this
Oh,
season is over. I'm kind of super
that
sad
sucks.
about that. I have a theory, and it is that Disney hates to have TV shows on for more than 3 years. They just have this like maybe it just gives them a migraine. I don't know, but
Well,
all
that's
the
so much
best
like a
shows.
Netflix issue, though, right?
That's a Netflix issue too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the number three. It is a very special number in several books.
I
But there's
think
just
that I read somewhere once, this could be completely wrong, but if memory serves, I think that I read somewhere that in terms of episode count, anything past 3 seasons automatically leads the show to be considered an available candidate for a syndication,
is
which
that true though today when we have different like
I
lengths of
don't.
series of seasons though?
I don't know what the issue with 3 seasons and you're done is. I think I read that somewhere. I don't know if that still applies. I know, but yeah,
Also,
it's
who
weird.
watches who watches syndication? Who watches TV
Yeah,
anymore? I mean,
right. Who watches basic TV
um,
anymore?
even
Yeah.
my mom watches just streaming stuff. Um, but also my mom watches Rick and Morty, so who knows? Anyway,
Well, your mom has good taste.
she does, she does. So yeah, so I will say that shows like DuckTales are great. It did get canceled after this season, and you're right. So great shows on Netflix too get canceled. One of my favorite shows of all time on Netflix is a show called Insatiable, and if you want a great show that gets canceled after 3 seasons or whatever, watch the show because it's great, and then it's just gone, and you're sad, but it's great.
Yeah.
Um, um, Not 3 seasons. I'm not okay with this. Got canceled.
Yeah.
I was very sad about that. Was
It
a
got one
fantastic
season.
first season, one season of greatness, and then that's all it gets. So sad. But yeah, like there are some shows though for kids I do watch. So Ducktales was great this season. Everyone out there should have watched or should be on board. The Christmas episode was fantastic. Um, let's see, what else for kids do I watch? Oh, I watched Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous season one.
Me
It's a
too.
DreamWorks. It's a DreamWorks series, and I thought it was a great little show.
Me too.
I thought it was fun, and I really liked how it fit into the movie.
Yeah.
Like you were watching, like it was happening in the background of the movie. I thought that was cute.
And by the way, the
Um,
second season premieres sometime in January. So
yes,
at
I
the time
heard
of this
that. I heard
recording.
that. So yeah, that's good. What else for kids do I watch? For the younger crowd, Big Hero 6. I am a big fan. I've been a big fan of the television series Big Hero 6, the TV series.
Okay.
Um, this season, however, they've changed what they're doing with the show. I don't know if you're aware of this out there in TV land or you Iraq, but they've
No.
broken instead of having half-hour long episodes, they're now producing 15-minute long episodes, and they're bundling them together in a half hour. So
Interesting.
what I don't like about this is it feels like it takes a lot of the long form storytelling out. Like
Yeah.
usually each season there's a big bad that builds up to. It's fine for small stories and like fun action or maybe a little bit of character development here and there. But I'm not really happy with the shorter length episodes. I really enjoyed Big Hero 6, and I liked how they continued, as you talked about earlier, world building for the Big Hero 6 universe. It's grown, it's become more interesting. The movie, it's a good time, and it does have some flaws, as many superhero movies tend to. But it was fun, and the show has been fun, and I've been enjoying it since it premiered. But yeah, so they've broken them down to smaller segments, which I don't know, might be fun to watch for some people. But again, I'm hoping for something more. So DuckTales, Big Hero 6, great returning series. Um, Jurassic World, Cretaceous, Camp Cretaceous, great
Hmm.
new series that's coming back soon. Now let's talk about some more adult shows. Um,
Let's do it.
let's first start with some shows that I think had a good start. Space Force, a good start for Space Force. A little wacky,
Hmm.
a little. I'm not sure if it's gonna hold its own as it goes on, but it was a good start. It was a fun start. Ted Lasso. This is a sports show, and it has nothing to do with either comics or most nerds. There are sports nerds out there, but it's also an Apple TV series, so some people might not have access to it.
Is that the
But
one
it
about
was
the coach that is sent to like London or something? Or
Yes, he's a football coach who goes to England to become a soccer coach, or a football coach, if you will.
right?
And it is really fun. It's a good time. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I can't I can't like express how much of a good time that I had, and I was not expecting it. It
Yeah.
just happened. Um, so yeah, I would say that was a really good start for that show too. And here's a sort of a little thing I just want to bring up, which is weird as well. Saved by the Bell came back this year. It
It
came
did.
to Peacock TV,
Hmm.
and I, like a lot of folks out there, was like, you know what? Let me check out this show I watched as a child ad nauseum, and I really liked the new Saved by the Bell. I have to admit, Fizza approves.
Hmm.
The new Saved by the Bell is fun. It's different but similar. It plays with the tropes of what was going on before. It straight up admits that Zach and Morris and his son are like, you know, Ready
What?
Rock?
No, I don't know. I haven't seen that show, but apparently I should be watching it.
Well, you know what kind of person Zach Morris really is, right? I mean, if you're going to categorize that character as a person, there's a whole bunch of um, streaming, what do you call it, essays about the sociopathic behavior or I don't know if that's a question, but the
Okay.
sociopath, the sociopath that is Zach Morris. He's he's just not a good per. And they straight out talk about that.
Okay. I'm not
It's
familiar
fun.
with that, but
It's
okay.
well, come on, dude. This man is just he's not. There's something wrong about Zach Morris. I mean, as you're a kid, you don't realize it, and as an adult, you really should have. Like, there's some problems there with that. He's not. Anyway,
Okay.
anyway. So they play both the old silliness of the original and they kind of ground it with some fun stuff. It's really interesting. It's a lot more political than I had expected it to be.
Hmm.
It's a good. It's hard to even describe what it is. It's both exactly like Saved by the Bell and it's complete opposite. It is it's a good time.
Interesting.
Watch it. The Fizza approved. I want to point out that Mandalorian did happen this year. I watched it. I still don't think it is that great, and I know everyone
Oh,
hates
see, again,
this
here's where we
idea.
disagree. I loved
So
this
I still,
second
I mean, this
season.
season was better than the first. This season felt less like I was watching someone play a video game because that's exactly how the first season felt to me. It felt like I was sitting there and Eros, you were playing the Mandalorian, and we
All
were
right.
chatting as the show went on. I mean, as the video game play went on, and that was basically what was going on. And honestly, Mandalorian's a little boring for me, but I think I'm a little, I don't know. I think I've tired of the Western. I'm a big Western fan. Used to be watch a lot of them in my day. If you ask me what my favorite Western TV show is, I might have six for you. Like I like Westerns, but I just feel like it's boring. The Mandalorian is boring. The best episode for me of this year, no spoilers for anyone, I hope, is the episode where a certain
Someone
former
returns. I'm
Padawan
gonna leave it at that.
returns. That was the best. That was by far, in my opinion, the best episode. And at the same time, the most like frustrating because I didn't get enough of what I wanted out of it. Like I was fine to see and it was great, but I wanted more.
Oh, I got
I wanted a lot
everything that
more
I
of that.
wanted from that episode
Um,
this season. I mean, again, I just loved this past season of The Mandalorian. You can't
and
say
I
anything
know
about it.
I liked it more than the first season. I
Hmm.
will say that. But I'm still not like 100% into this. I'm not as excited to watch this as I was to watch Clone Wars. That was a fantastic television show. Um, I don't have that anticipation for Mandalorian. I actually would watch when I would watch new episodes of Clone Wars, is I would watch the episode and then I would watch it again,
Hmm.
just because I liked it so much. And there are some other shows that also coming out this year that I'm not too excited about. A lot of people, are out there loving His Dark Materials, the TV series, but I went and reread all three books um, in between the first and the third episode of this season, try to see if exactly what I didn't like about the show. And there's just so much about the show that I don't like. I don't think it's very well cast. I think Will is the only good casting in that series.
Huh.
But like, yeah, everyone else is just they're all good actors, but they are not the characters that from like the great work that I read.
Yeah.
They just don't do it justice. They don't, and I'm like, and maybe I've got my bar too high, but I think a show, if it's going to adapt a really good book or a movie or a TV series, if they're going to adapt a good a novel or a comic book, they should really do. They should really make it on similar level. Like you need to be as good at. If you're not, you're just not going to be good. Like that's the reason I think so many people, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that's the reason so many people did not like that film, The Lovely Bones. It was just they did nothing interesting in that adaptation
Hmm.
of that great novel by a really good director, and it just didn't feel right. Um, I feel the same thing about here about His Dark Materials. My favorite one of my favorite young adult book series of all time, and it's just not. Yeah, but
So I have
you
not
know,
read the books nor checked out the first season yet, although it's on my to watch list. But
I
that's
mean, you might
very
enjoy it because
unfortunate to hear.
you haven't read a story that's the same except better. And that's
True.
probably
I
my
have nothing
problem
to
with it
compare it to, so
is
yeah,
that I've got this story and I know it, and I know it better than when I'm seeing it
yeah.
portrayed. Like I felt the same way. This was the same writer wrote a book series, the Sally Lockhart mysteries, and they made those into BBC made those
Hmm.
into some television movies a few years back, and actually had a few Doctor Who players in it. The actress who plays Rose on Doctor Who was the main character, Sally Lockhart. But right away in the first movie, she was she was probably like 29 or 30 when she filmed this, and the character she's playing is 16. It didn't it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
The actor Matt Smith played a character who was like a few years younger than Sally, so he should have been like 13 or something. And I was like, Matt Smith is like 30, and he's playing a 13-year-old. This just doesn't work for me. It's just good actors. I like Matt Smith. He did a really good job in The Crown. I don't know if you saw that series.
No.
Did a really good job in The Crown. And actually, since I was talking about Doctor Who just a moment ago, I want to say that those are, the British viewers of television out there did get a treat this year in 2020 because the reconstruction of The Faceless One, a Doctor Who series from the original run, season 8 of the original run, a reconstruction of which got aired on BBC. And
Oh.
the series is also going to be sold. Um, Now, for those of you out there who don't know what I'm talking about when I say reconstruction, so the show is Doctor Who has been on since the 60s,
Mhm.
and it's been on so long that it actually aired the day Kennedy was shot, I believe.
Oh.
Um, and it's been on so long that there have been some episodes that have been lost, destroyed accidentally. So what they've been doing is animating episodes because the BBC has audio recordings of all the shows since they did play them on the radio afterwards with some narration. So they do have the original audio tape. So they have been animating and producing these reconstructions for the
Huh.
fans out there. And the one episode, the faceless ones, got aired this year. So they were lucky in their quarantine that they got some faceless ones. Um, I do want to say, getting back to the end of this last season, we did lose a few shows early, right? Flash,
Mhm.
a lot of the CW
Yep. A
shows
lot
got
of
shut down
TV
early.
series either got caught short due to COVID or
Yeah,
had their endings just completely changed due to COVID. Like, just really quickly, The Blacklist, which is a TV series that I absolutely love and adore. Its last episode was unique in that it was animated. So what happened was they had the ADR recordings, but the sets and everything and social distance and quarantining actually kicked in. So what they did is they animated that episode and then used the ADR recordings, which for anyone who's ever watched it showed they've never had they don't do stuff like that. So that was very unique.
interesting. One of the things that you and I, Iraq and I, are big fans of is Legacy. During COVID lockdown, I watched the two previous series that led into Legacies. But prior to the lockdown, I had never watched anything but Legacies, and we were both of us big fans
Mm-hmm.
of Legacies. And Evan and I were speaking, you and I were speaking recently, and I found out that the last, what was it you say, 4 episodes
Yep,
didn't
four
get aired?
episode. Yep, the last season of Legacies was supposed to have an additional 4 episodes past what ended up, for all intents and purposes, being its season finale. The episode that they ended on was not planned to be the last episode of that season, but ended up being that way because, again, COVID. So, there you go.
Right. hopefully what that means is this season, because I believe they were picked up for 22 or 24 episodes this
Yeah.
season.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get those 4 episodes on top of what they've been picked up for. So, bonus episodes about that. I don't know if Roswell had the same problem, but I don't know if I don't know if you're a fan of Roswell, but anyone out there who's a fan of Roswell, the new Roswell series, which
I actually am a fan of the new Roswell series, which, trust me, surprised me because I really didn't think that I would be, and I was not
it's well
a
done.
fan of the
It is
first,
well done.
but
It is well
I
done.
like this one, yeah.
Focuses a lot more on the science fiction of it, where I think the other series focused a little bit more on the teen drama of it.
Yes,
Although
which
there's
I
enough,
just.
there's more than enough drama in Roswell now, for everyone. I was gonna say I don't know if Roswell had the same problem, but I did feel the last episode of Roswell was a lot happened very quickly,
Yeah,
and
I would.
I don't know why it went like that, because I felt like the show was really well paced until that last 1 or 2 episodes, and I just feel like a blur of things happened,
Yeah, I
and I
don't
was
even
like, I
remember.
don't
Like, it'll be
what
interesting when the next season picks up because I completely agree. Like, I remember the events of last season all the way up until like what ended up being that season's finale, and then like I don't remember where they left things. It's all just.
yeah,
I feel
like
like a lot really got thrown at you all at once, and it's hard to like keep track when that happens.
it really was, and it's fun too because I Evan as well. I'm going to speak for you in this situation. Iraq over here.
Sure.
He also watched one of the prequel series to Legacies. Watched The Outsiders, and we both saw Max in that series, as well as Max's partner, the police woman. I forgot her name on Roswell, but they were both players in The Outsider, the original.
Yes, thank you.
And
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure what what's it called, The
yeah, it was like it wasn't The Outsider, the originals. Yes, the originals.
Outsider.
So they were both players in the originals, and it was so weird seeing them in that for me, especially the character who's Max's partner. Max, I felt like played pretty much the same character except not cool.
See, and
and
I agree. It was really weird seeing those same actors, especially for a while, because like I kept on going. I know this actor from something I've seen, but like in one show he's completely shaven and clean cut, and in the other he's all rugged and stuff. So like it took me like literally 10 episodes to place it, but I'm like, damn, I've seen him before. But
did you notice?
I just, and we've actually had this conversation, but I think that they are actually different roles, which probably didn't help me place it either. But I mean, they're both
I don't know.
good intentioned guys, but
I don't know if you saw the one, the brief appearance. The actress who plays Rosa was also in an episode of the originals.
I
She
did.
was the
That was really
yeah.
interesting
I was
too.
like, Rosa. Did they recruit the entire show from this
Well,
series?
I think that I even texted you this or something, which is that like the CW is kind of like Disney, and that
It's
they seem
incestuous
to
with its
tend to
actors.
want
Yeah.
to continue to like reuse the same stars over and over and over again, but in different stuff. So,
Um,
or at least Disney used to be that way for the longest time.
well, I don't think it's changed. The same with Nickelodeon. Like, you
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
all
yeah,
those.
exactly. Yes.
Um, so let me see. I'm just going to touch on a couple more things
Sure.
as some spotlights for 2020. Maybe
Please.
that's what we should call this, spotlights for 2020.
Love it.
Um,
That's our
so
title.
so AP Bio, not a very nerdy show, but if anyone out there was a big fan of It's Always Sunny,
Mm.
you probably caught some AP Bio. It's a pretty good
No,
show.
and I
It's moved.
love It's Always Sunny, so tell me more about AP Bio.
Well, one of the actors from It's Always Sunny went off to do this, where it's basically a curmudgeon, elitist guy comes back to his hometown and is forced to teach high school
Hmm.
because he can't do what he really wanted to do, which was be an elitist like professor at an elitist college.
Okay.
It's a good time. It's fun. It's a little dark.
Yeah, it sounds like it's has very similar comical
I,
style to It's Always
I will
Sunny. Is
I
that
will
true?
say
Or
it's definitely not as absurdist and ridiculous. Like if you're
okay.
looking to find the same show, it's not the same show.
Okay.
It's a lot more mild because it's a network show. It's an NBC, I believe, and I think it's on the
Ah.
Peacock. I think it's moved to the Peacock network now.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that. It might be a CBS show and might have moved to the CBS streaming service. But the thing is that it was a TV series that came out weekly, and now it's just the latest season just went streaming alone, and I enjoyed it. It's pretty good. It's a fun show. It's a light, good time.
Yeah, it's currently on
Um,
the Peacock.
the Peacock. Okay, so it's the Peacock. Um, let's see what else. Uh, in that mindset, since we're talking about that,
Mm.
another show that was on Apple. And I will say that I haven't liked everything on Apple, but the Apple series have been really high quality. Like everything I've seen, even if I haven't liked it, the production value is fantastic. But another series for the Apple series, which is also um, similar to or has some of the actors from Always Sunny,
Mm.
Mythic Quest: Raven's Banquet. It's a lot
Yes.
more in that humorous vein too.
Mm.
Not as absurdist, but it can really push the absurdist like wall.
So do you want
It's
to
a
tell
really
us
good time.
what that one's about?
Why don't you tell us, since you're more of a video game guy?
I absolutely. So anyone who watches this channel knows that my first passion is obviously comics. My second close tie compassion though is video games, and I just adored this series. It's more of a comedic take on the video game industry and more specifically one video game development team working for a larger publisher, your EA or uh, BioWare or whatever, if you will. And it's just
I,
great.
w- I want to point out that there is some social satire in there. It's not
There
just
is,
fluff.
but it's all handled in a comedic fashion, but it all tackles with anyone who follows the video game industry. It really tackles a lot of issues that crunch, the pressures from market research, all of this stuff that we all now know about. And it makes sense because it has two uh, big uh, video game industry professionals on the writing staff. So it makes sense that they also get a lot of it right. But it's not dry. It's not a docu series. It's just a really well done um, sitcom.
Well said. Yeah, it's a good time, and it stars one of the actors from It's Always Sunny, and I
It
believe
does.
he also produces it as well.
He does. In
Um,
fact, it was my understanding is he helped launch it as well. So
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, if anyone out there is interested in a series called Mythic Quest: Raven's Banquet, it's a long title, but I happen to like long titles. So, um, speaking of which, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist was a good time. It's a fantasy series in which
is it though?
some people. Oh, it's definitely a fantasy series.
But
It's
not in
it's
like
it's
dragons and like unicorns and stuff though. Like I feel like for a fantasy series, it was really reality based as
so
well.
there are two types of fantasy in the main fantasy world, and one is
Okay.
urban fantasy, and the other
Mm.
is
High
sword and
fantasy or
sorcery. And Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist hopefully will not be one of them. I had a good time watching it. The idea here is instead of a brain tumor, um, she has a weird experience in a MRI machine, which somehow downloads the world's music into her brain. And now, when people have feelings, she can see their feelings and stuff. It's a really fun, cute show. I
but it
really like
also
some of the
deals with
actors
like
in
I
it.
feel like loss and issues like that as well though.
If you're and if you're not a fan of of musicals and people singing, you're gonna hate this show. Speaking of which, I'm gonna bring up something which I hadn't watched until lately.
Huh.
The Boys. The Boys had an excellent season. It is a returning series. It came back for the new season. It played during 2020, and it was fantastic.
Actually, The
I
Boys would be on my list as well. Just saying. So yeah, couldn't agree more.
so it I will admit to being a little hesitant to get into The Boys because while I did
Yeah, I had to
love
really push you, but I told you you'd like it.
and I really love some of the things the comic book writer and artist did besides The Boys. But I gave The Boys a shot back in the day when I was much more into comics than I am now. Not to say that I'm not into comics. I'm just more
More
hesitant to jump
selective,
into
yes.
yeah. I'm more hesitant to jump into stuff. But I gave The
More
Boys
seasoned.
comic a shot when I was younger, and
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it. I thought it was not, there was a lot
And
of
you
things
told
in
me
it
all the reasons
that I
why you
didn't
didn't
like.
like the
Um,
comic
so
series, and I was like, trust me, you'll like the show.
so yeah, so Erock there is taking all the credit for getting me to watch Boys, and as he should, which is fine. My point is that I eventually gave in and I watched Boys, and it turned out to be one of my favorite shows. It reminded me a lot of
I'll never
the
steer you wrong.
yeah, you will though. But but
Probably.
it
That's
reminded me a little bit of the Powers TV series. It's actually High School Musical, the musical, the TV series, because that's fantastic.
I've heard.
Um,
I've heard that. Yeah.
that, but hopefully Disney doesn't cancel that after 3 seasons unless the show is complete, because I feel like already it's hard to like things on Netflix and Disney because I feel very hesitant. At least me,
Right.
I feel very hesitant because I'm like, oh, I really like, I'm not okay with this, or I really like,
And then it's
um,
gone.
yeah, I did
Yeah.
like Ducktales, and both shows, you shouldn't like shows on our nation. That's one of the reasons I feel like I like to certain shows I like to take a while to get into. Like if I ended up liking The Boys after season 1 and it got canceled, I might have been really upset. So,
Yes.
you know,
No, I,
that that
I, I hear that, and I agree with that. It's given, I feel less so with Amazon Prime for some reason, but given Netflix and Disney's
yeah. Amazon Prime
yeah
I feel is a lot more stable for some
stable,
reason.
yes, yeah, I don't know why, but
Um,
I completely agree. Like they're getting
um,
5, 6, 7 seasons, and on Netflix,
yeah.
oh, you're lucky to get a fourth season. And so,
I think the real problem that Netflix has is
yeah,
they're casting their net too wide.
right.
Um, if
To see
if
kind of
they
what sticks, and then if it doesn't, they give up on it way too soon just because their net
Yeah,
is too.
because I mean, if shows that if the best shows out there were canceled after a bad season,
Yeah.
almost no show that I like.
Yes.
Uh, let's do one last British show. I'm a big fan of Endeavor,
Okay.
spelled Endeavour. For those people who don't know how to spell it, it's the
Be
name
me.
Endeavor. It's the name Endeavor. It's about some people out there, parents or grandparents, might like a TV series called Inspector Morse. And this is Inspector Morse when he was a wee child back in the 60s. Young,
Okay.
handsome, debonair Inspector Endeavor Morse. His first name is Endeavor, yes. That's why no one calls him Endeavor in his other show, apparently. Which I've never seen, just like I had never seen all those other shows that led to Legacy. I've never seen any Inspector Morse. But I'm a real big fan of Endeavor. I like mysteries. I like period shows. I think it gives me both. Good time.
Interesting.
In America, it plays on PBS. So for those fans of British television out there, PBS mystery series, and they do I think 3 or 4 episodes, about an hour and a half long a season. Good, it's a really good show. It's kind of like similar to the what they did with Sherlock with the
Ah.
three or
Okay.
four three or four mystery movies a season kind of thing.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Endeavor does that, except his tend to be good Um, anyway,
I mean, Sherlock
so
started out
that
good and then kind of went.
that's why I put some salt. That last season of
Yeah.
that last season of Sherlock was
Yeah, yeah,
subpar, subpar, sir.
agreed.
Let's see what else. Let's hit some a couple more shows that came back, and then we'll do what I think are the best new shows of the year. Um, Returning shows. Um, Killing Eve. I love Killing Eve. I think that's one of my favorite shows out there. I've been addicted to it. The actress who plays Villanelle is fantastic. I think she's one of those. You've seen that series, Orphan Black, correct?
Yes,
Rock.
yes,
Do you remember how great a job Tatiana Masala, if I'm destroying your name, forgive me,
See,
did
it's not
with her
easy.
role? Tatiana, at least I got that right.
Yes,
She did a fantastic job playing characters, playing characters, playing characters. Like it's such a good thing.
yes, yes,
Villanelle, right up there, if not even better. She's fantastic. The actress who plays her. I actually followed her in a couple other shows. Some
Jodie
dark
Comer
stuff. Some
is the
dark stuff
actress.
yes, some dark stuff she played in. And she could throw on accents like she's taken, putting on, taking off coats. I mean, it's brilliant. Like seriously, she plays the role as a Russian with a Russian accent, and then she jumps into English,
Mhm.
Scottish, Australian. She just jumps right into these French, and you're just completely convinced. She does a fantastic job. A big fan of Killing Eve. Other shows that came back this season, Barry. Have you seen
Yes,
Barry?
I have. Love
And
that
I
show.
told you to see that show, didn't I? And you
See,
finally
okay,
saw it.
so
What did you?
yes, now it's your turn. I was
Yeah.
hesitant, and you kept on telling me to check that out. Kept on pushing me.
Well,
And I
you were
finally
actually.
did, and I will freely admit you were right, and Barry is great. He's an
We'll love it.
he's
His
an acting
acting.
hitman who is a member of an acting troupe. I mean, yeah, what's not to
And the
love?
best. And the best part is he doesn't want to be a hitman. He just
This
wants
is
to be an
true.
actor.
He wants to be an actor. Yes.
It's the silliest best time. And it's really well done. There's a
And
lot
it
of
has
interesting
what's
stuff.
his name, who's a very seasoned actor that I love. He's been in a ton of stuff.
I know
Uh,
who you mean, and I always call him Jimmy because that's the character he played in News Radio.
yeah.
But he was. I actually just saw him the other day, and someone said the same thing to me. He was in a film, and they were like, "It's got that guy in it who's in everything. You're gonna love
Yes.
it." And you know what that movie was? That was Buster Scruggs, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I was about to watch that with my roommate, and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna love it. It's that actor." And he's like, "I don't know his name, but he's in everything, and he's great." And then he turned to me and said, "My stapler," and I was like, "Yes, I know exactly who you mean."
Well,
Um,
actually, he's in it too. But I was referring to.
oh,
Geez,
you weren't
okay,
talking about
Henry Winkler.
you were talking about Henry Winkler. You couldn't think of the Fonz? That's that's pretty like right
I
on, bro.
know, I know, I know. I don't know. It was bad. He's in the show, and he's
I'm just saying, like I mean, it's a lot. In my opinion, the Fonz, even if you weren't a fan of the show or anything like that,
yeah, he's just an
it's a
icon,
pretty
no question.
yeah. Yeah, like I love when he was on Arrested Development. He was
Yes,
just oh my god, oh my god,
yeah, yeah.
his
No,
character on
I
Arrested
am so
Development.
ashamed. Henry
Oh,
Winkler, if you're watching this, which I seriously doubt, but if you are, I'm such a fan, and I'm so sorry.
and you're a fan too, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he's just done such amazing work. Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Anyway,
His work. I agree though. His
please
work
save me by
in
moving
Barry.
on.
I agree though. His work in Barry is
Mm,
fantastic. Henry Winkler plays an acting teacher,
yeah.
and he does such an excellent job
Yes.
with that role. And
And the way
it's
the last season ended, like again, no spoilers, but just oh,
but actually, let me see if I can figure out who that actor is, who I'm thinking of.
oh, I
Um,
already
oh,
yes,
you
she
know.
was in news radio and everything. Well, I because I had to. Yeah, I have him up. Hold on for 1 second. Stephen Root, who was in news radio, he was also in Office Space, as you were saying. He's been in a bunch of stuff too.
He has been like he was in the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and apparently one of the best stories in that. I actually we didn't actually finish the movie. I didn't realize it was an anthology of stories, so decided I would go back to it later on. Um, so yes, and he plays a very good character or a very
Mm,
interesting character in Barry,
yeah,
Stephen Root.
he does.
Fantastic actor. I will I will just see things if he's in it. Honestly, if I see him in it, you don't even know his name. I'm sad. I know, but I will just see things. Let's talk about Doom Patrol.
Mm,
Great show,
let's.
fantastic show,
Yep.
really great season of a great show.
Yep.
We'll stick with the superhero thing. Umbrella Academy,
Yes.
much better than the comic. I really like
See,
the
I've never
Umbrella
even
Academy
actually
show.
read the comic, but I am in love with this series. So.
I'm not gonna throw too much salt at Titans because half of me loves Titans and half of me like goes, "What are you guys doing?" Um, I do love seeing my characters that I like out there doing stuff.
See, that's how I feel
Is one
like
of
when
my
it comes to the Marvel stuff.
Donna Troy is one of my favorite characters. But you see, I actually read more Marvel than I ever did DC.
Hmm.
But for some reason, I just have like more of a love for DC characters. I feel like
Well, they're
um,
icons.
I know, but my characters at DC are not like
The Superman or
Batman and
the.
Superman. They're like Dick Grayson and Donna Troy.
Okay, sure, right.
Wally West is my
Okay,
favorite
sure.
Flash.
Yeah,
You
Wally
know,
West is
like
exactly an icon.
he,
Yes. Okay. Even though I love
he's
Wally West, don't get me wrong, but yes, he's. Um.
I mean, I guess it depends on which Wally, but just the thing, like, so I
And the
really
actress who
enjoy
plays
watching
Donna
Titans,
is great
but
too.
well, yeah, I really enjoy watching Titans, but
Yeah.
I can't say it's one of my favorite shows. I can't say it's as good as Umbrella Academy. It's definitely not as good as Doom Patrol. I would say it's I would say it's not even as good as Stargirl. Honestly, and I'm not a huge Stargirl fan. Um, but I do love it. I do have a good time watching it. I feel like watching Stargirl was how I felt watching the first season of all the CW shows. Like, oh, this is such a great, and then the CW continues to do stuff, and you go,
That's
why am
why
I
I'm
still watching
concerned
this?
with it moving to the CW. But
Yeah, there is some concern there, but hopefully, Jeff Johns and James Robinson, I believe, both
yeah,
the guys who created her,
yeah,
are working on the show.
they are,
I was a
and
big so on my list, we have coming back for another season. We have Search Party, which is not everyone's cup of tea,
yeah, I don't think I know that
but
one either.
it is fantastic. It is one of those shows like um, uh, what is it? I think it's a show called Teachers, and there's another show on the same network, um, the Pop Network, I believe this is, or one of the Pop networks
Okay,
has Search Party on it, and I believe it's also the same network that gave us Schitt's Creek, which is a fantastic show, which ended,
mm,
and to my regret, recently, such a good show. Um, Search Party has another season coming out actually pretty soon. Season four coming out pretty soon. It is about a group of friends who are New York people, and being someone from New York originally, I see these people in my friends.
yep, very close.
And and they start looking for someone they think is missing, and then they accidentally, I don't know, commit murder or something, and then they
Okay,
it goes from there. So
sure, why
watch the
not?
show. Watch the show. You will
All
be
right.
pleasantly surprised. It's got good actors in it. If you know who, if you're a fan of Office Space, as we were talking about before,
Mm.
Livingston. I forgot his first name. Maybe Sam or Ron Livingston. Um, he's one of the stars in season one of Search Party. Um, Ron Livingston, I'm a big fan of, even though he lets me down so many times. Do not watch the man who killed Hitler and then Bigfoot. Do not do it. Um, do not do it.
And I was so
But
tempted.
yeah,
Such a great
but
title.
I know. Search Party has some really good actors in it. Some great comedians. Some of my favorite people, aside from Ron. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it as well, especially if you like quirky, weird shows. Let's talk a couple of minutes about the two shows that ended this season, this year, to
Okay,
2020,
let's do it.
that I am sad about. One is Agents of Shield.
Yes,
Went out with a bang.
it really
I
did.
loved every episode they did. They even did it in a way to make us feel like maybe the end result will be they get to be in the MCU.
I'm hoping.
Um,
I'd love to see
but who
Quaid
knows?
getting Coulson again.
So yeah, as with a show that season was, we're gonna time travel. We're gonna end game it in a way that's actually good. We're gonna make a good version of Endgame, completely amazing. They made, for me, an Endgame that I really enjoyed. This was my Endgame. This was fantastic. I was so sad at that last episode. I loved it and hated it and loved it again. It was beautiful. I cannot give, and again, for a series, and I may have mentioned this multiple times to you, Evan, but for a series that in season one, I was questioning why the heck am I still watching this after every episode, to sit here and be like, I am so sad it's gone. I'm
Yeah,
mad and angry at the same
yeah.
time that it's
Everyone
gone.
who tried to watch that first season and then stopped. I've tried to tell people, you need to go
Yeah.
back. Season two. Like,
Yeah, even just finish the season one, because the end of season one retroactively makes the entire season better, and you're
this
just
is
like, shit,
this is
it was
true.
good the whole time. It
This
was
is
good
true.
the whole time. Wait, how was it good the whole time? It's amazing.
Yeah.
It just mind blows you. So yeah, that ended, and my other favorite series that ended this year was the 100. I
I
loved
still
that
haven't seen the
show.
last season. I haven't. I haven't seen it yet.
That's okay. That's okay. We won't give any spoilers away. But I'm just gonna say I love that show. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it started I think a year after the Arrow started. I hadn't been watching. I had like kind of been watching less TV around then, and then the Arrowverse started, and I got sort of back into it. And the 100 got me at the trailer. I was 100% in on its first episode, but I know a lot of people who hadn't been. It's the future after the last World War. All the space stations that were around the Earth tied themselves together and became this arc to try to save humanity. But if they're failing, they're about to fall out of the sky, and they send people down to Earth to see if it is livable.
Yeah.
In space, there's only one. There's only one. What do you call it? Type of sentence you give to someone who's a criminal, and that's killing them, sending them out into space, facing them.
Yeah.
But if they're underage, they can't. They don't do that. They wait until they become 21 or whatever their age limit is in the space arc. Um, so they wait until that point. So they had 100 criminals who are underage in their holding cell, and they thought, well, what should we do to send people down to Earth, check and see if it's okay to live there? We've got all these teenagers.
Right.
So we sent 100 teenagers down to the planet Earth, and from there, it just goes wild. And
Well, and
every
it was also
season,
like, as you were saying, kind of viewed as like, because teenagers, or regardless of what crimes, really for this entire time, any crime got met with the same punishment, which was a death sentence. So this was viewed as like, you know, one of two things will happen. Either A, it'll turn out that it'll be livable again, which in which case great, or they'll all die, which was going to happen anyways.
Yeah,
So it's
most
like,
likely
why
to most of
not?
them. Yeah, it was a very interesting premise, and
Yeah.
the series really takes it in places you don't think it's going to go. And I really want to point out that if anyone out there is looking for strong female characters on a
There's so
television
many great
show,
female
sci-fi has
characters in that
always been
show.
or should I say, science fiction has always been a home for strong female characters.
I agree.
100 has
A
most
bunch.
of them. It's it's
I
fantastic.
mean, I love the first season. I've seen every season except for the final season. I I do not love the entire thing straight through the way the Fizza does. I feel like it kind of started to fall apart in places. But the one thing I absolutely agree on is it has the most strongest independent female characters in a show. Definitely.
Yeah, they're like all Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
It's
yes,
fantastic.
they are.
It's fantastic. It is,
Except
and
none
I
of them
love
are
everyone.
crying over their lost boyfriends. Sorry, had to do
Or
it.
girlfriends, or girlfriends.
Sure, or yes.
There's a lot of people die in the 100. Don't get
Yes.
attached to anyone really. Either they'll die or they'll become a monster, or maybe
Yeah.
they'll become a monster. Either they'll be, or that maybe they become a monster and then try to redeem themselves. It's a ridiculously
And just to
awesome
be
show.
clear, by monster, because it's a science fiction show, not monster as in, they're mutated, but like,
Like a terrible human being.
right.
Best thing on your. Anyway, so boom, those are the two series that ended, and neither of them. Well, I guess I don't know if the Agents of Shield would have been canceled if it hadn't been for the removal of all Marvel shows
Yeah, no,
from
I feel
television.
like that's exactly why it got canceled, because Marvel TV,
Because I don't know if it would have. It's been on a while. It's what 8 years now,
7, I want to
7,
say.
something like that. That's a nice run
That
for a
is a really
TV
good run.
show.
This is true.
And every season of Shield, in my opinion, got better.
Yes.
So boom, and the 100 again. I think every season got better, more interesting, and another show goes out. The last few things I want to talk about. The big superstar I think of the year, at
Mm.
least for me,
Yeah.
Lower Deck. Star Trek
Yes.
Lower Deck. I don't know if you watched Lower Deck, but I think
Me
it's
or the
fantastic.
audience? Because I
Well,
definitely watched
everyone.
and
Did you?
loved
What
Lower
did you
Decks.
think of it?
I thought it was great. It's the first real animated Star Trek series since the 60s or
The
70s
animated
one.
series.
Yeah,
Since the animated series.
since that. And I just. It's I just thought it was great, and it's kind of, for me, a bit of a warm, nostalgic throwback to the TNG era. But
I feel like it's the show that would play in the Star Trek universe. You know,
yeah,
like I feel like
yeah,
it's a Star
right.
Trek.
It would be
Like I,
their holodeck series or
right,
whatever. Yeah,
right. I feel like it'd be a hollow novel
yeah. There you go. Yeah.
in the Star Trek universe. It's so fun and
Yes.
light and such a good time. but it
But
also
still
like
has character moments and growth.
but also at the same time, it seems to be a lot more Star Trekky than the actual Star Trek live action shows that I've seen. And then I wanted to throw something else out there, but the last show I wanted to mention was a TV or streaming special,
Okay.
the Star Wars Lego special. Evan, you said you watched it, right?
I
Correct.
did. It was a lot
What
better
did,
than I thought it would be. I mean, again, you know how much I love fan service. It was just an enjoyable piece of Star Wars fan service. Regardless of how you might feel about any of the movies, it was the
Yes,
best bits from
I
all of them, and it was just very
I
fun.
I watched I watched this and I recommended this to a few people, even my mother who had never seen any of the newer
Mm.
Star Wars movies, except for Rogue One because I made her see Rogue One with me. Um, so aside from seeing that, she had never seen any other Star Wars stuff, and she loved this. She said she laughed throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. There's just something was super silly and fun about this Lego Star Wars special.
Yeah.
Now, first off, in case those people out there weren't expecting it, they do end game it. Once again, we go through Star Wars universe time. Or once again, we go through time. This time in the Star Wars universe,
Yeah.
seeing all the best moments that we can muster.
Yes.
But
It's the greatest hits.
so the stars are Ray and BB-8. For those of you who already are scowling, don't worry. Even though this sounds like a terrible story from how I've explained it so far, it is super fun. It is silly and ridiculous and a good time. We go through all these different times and end up collecting tons of different versions of these characters, and they do ridiculously stupid stuff. Like Luke Skywalker always seems to have a carton of blue milk on him at all times. So you don't know why. He's always just drinking. It's like he's addicted to it. You're like, what's going on here?
Hey, he's a farm boy.
Just
Farm boys are
explaining.
always
So
drinking
just
their milk, you know.
yeah,
Well, there you go. So this was the first
2020 and a glance.
episode of the Fizza's brand new podcast.
And it's been all over the place, but maybe in the future we'll figure out a way to make it more focused.
Maybe. But if you've
Maybe.
been watching our other podcasts for a while, you know that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and all that jazz.